Dear friends, today we are going to talk about an interesting subject, electricity, बिजली। हर घर बिजली स्कीम तो आपने सुना होगा, पर क्या आप जानते हैं कि ये बिजली क्या है, कैसे है, कहाँ से आती है? For this we are going to deep dive into today's podcast to learn from our industry experts. But right from your waking up in the morning to sleeping, from your home to your hospitals, to your office, to your industries, everywhere there is electricity. Without it, nothing functions in today's world at least. So for this, we have invited on our show industry experts to help you learn what are the basics of electricity and where from it comes and what goes behind the unsung heroes of them, the electricity, who tirelessly work to keep this uninterrupted power supply 24/7 so that the society can progress to a much better state. Welcome Mr. Rajarshi Bhattacharya and Mr. Vedant Singh on our show to discuss on the topic electricity.
Thank you.
Okay, so as we know, guys, electricity is very much important. It runs every day our life. Every minute aspect of our life is involved with electricity. So I would like to ask you on behalf of the commoner people, what is electricity and how this comes to our home really? I would start from Rajarshi.
Thank you, Molly, for inviting me. As you said, electricity has been described as the thin margin that is between civilization and chaos. So today we cannot imagine a life without electricity because, as you said, every stage of our life involves electricity in some way or the other. Electricity is basically the flow of electrons that helps you run your mobile phone, that helps a factory run its equipments, helps a hospital save some lives, and helps the schools teach their students. So how does this electricity get generated, how it reaches our home? It's an entire chain process that involves thousands and lakhs of people all over the world. These people interact and there is a overall symbiosis that goes on over the entire world regarding the research and technology development that has been happening and will be happening in the future also. So there are some particular sectors of electricity which I think Vedant would be able to explain.
Yes. I would like to ask you, what are the different sectors electricity is involved?
When we talk about electricity, we talk about whole power system that we have that's present all over the world where we go. So basically, we can say it in a very simple way that it's divided into three major categories. That is the power generation, where the actual power is generated. Generated means that a power cannot be, as we know, the power cannot be created or be destroyed. So it's just converting the form. So we have different form of powers like we have chemical energy stored in form of crude oil or coal, or the potential energy of the water that we have.
Yeah.
So that everything we are converting it to a more convenient way so that power can be transmitted to a longer distance conveniently in form of electricity with the help of the flow of electrons as Rajeshri told. So it's gift of nature that it has provided us that the source is somewhere else and we can easily, in matter of nothing, because the electricity travels at the speed of light. So once it's generated and it reaches you, it takes no time. If we talk about distances that we are, as we live on Earth, we are not talking about astronomical distances. So in that case, we have that the electricity is generated somewhere, and it has to be utilized and at the load centers, which are far away. So at the load centers, we have distribution system that people are more aware about because they are in direct contact. That we have distribution companies that provides electricity to our home. But before that, it has to travel to a longer distance, and that journey is through the highways of power that we call through transmission lines from the power generation centers to the load centers. So we have three sectors and gencos that generate power, that electricity, which includes we have companies like NTPC that we all know, then NHPCs, and then various private players are also there. Damodar, then TVC is there. Terry, we have you might know, and then we have transmission systems, the transcos that we have there. We have many companies, majorly which the major transmission that is being carried out. More than 50%, I think Power Grid is doing it, and now the other players are also entering, like Adani and Sterlite and Tata also.
Yeah.
And then we have distribution companies, they say we call it Bijli Vibhag and all. So discoms are there. So these are the three parts that contributes to the whole power system. And Then if we all connect that all those things, then we say that it constitutes a grid.
So mostly there are three major sectors to electricity, like generation, transmission and distribution, and for this different PSUs or state PSUs or different private companies are attached who are carrying out the respective works.
Yeah.
So as you've rightly mentioned the word like grid, most of us have heard in a lifetime maybe the word grid. So I'd like to know from you like what is grid and what role does it plays actually in a simplified language, if you could.
Grid is a very broad term. Nowadays, you can find grid in terms of information, in terms of internet. Internet is a grid. It's basically a giant network that connects some things to other things, right? So in terms of power sector, grid is the network that is connecting multiple different generation sources to multiple load centers. Now what is a load center? If you start a fan, it's a load, it's a running load. If you switch on a light, it's a load. Anything that is consuming electricity can be said to be a load. So a grid that is as vast as India's requires a certain level of stability and rigidity, right? So essentially what a grid is something that is connecting multiple centers to other centers. In terms of power, it is some generation companies that are getting connected through multiple steps of voltage, steps of substation, steps of different companies. Electricity does not discriminate between a government company and a private company. It does not even know. So once you generate the electricity, as Vedant said, the electricity generation can be done from conventional and non-conventional sources. Conventional sources have been sources like coal,
fossil fuel and everything.
yeah, and non-conventional sources which are in all the hype right now includes mainly solar. Then there is
All renewable
hydro.
energy sources, yes.
One source that we are scared to talk about, but it's very efficient and clean energy, is nuclear energy, because we are afraid of the remnants that are there after the energy is produced. But
remnants and all the risk that is involved, because
radioactivity,
same thing that is can be used to build a bomb. So
yeah,
people are, and after Chernobyl, people are quite.
But it has the highest energy density capacity, which means if you need a solar plant, if you have to purchase acres of land for the same amount of power, the nuclear plant can do it in as small a capacity as a small room or a hall. Say a nuclear plant has that capability, but we cannot tap into that because, as Vedant said, it has some harmful implications also. So
safety becomes a concern.
Safety becomes a concern.
And one more thing that our viewers would like to know, like even sun has the criteria of light emitting by nuclear fusion.
Yes.
So this is a source of nuclear power.
Most primal source.
Yeah, primal. So
basically
that's we can see.
Yeah,
we can
sun is a
see,
hydrogen
but it's
continuously
not
exploding.
as easily harnessable
Yeah.
as it should be. Till now, research is going on. I hope in coming years there will
Yes.
be more efficient ways of harnessing
Yes,
the
we
nuclear
really
power.
hope, because we are going to need a lot of power. Actually, let me tell you something. The state of an economy is determined by the power that a country is consuming,
Right.
which is as simple as the fact that the higher the economy is, the brighter it will seem at night. You must have seen the photo, NASA photo, not the Diwali photo, that is fake. The photo that says that the brighter the area is lit, the more economy advanced
I
it
think the
is.
brightest is Japan always.
Yeah,
This is like
areas of Europe, even India is much very bright
still
right now.
but
You can see the stark difference between North Korea and South Korea. South Korea is much well lit, whereas North Korea, which actually does not have at all electricity resource, it does not have a grid, so it is very dark during night time. So electricity
So
is
we can say,
directly
like, access to electricity is the marker of the nation progress.
yes,
Can you
Yes,
say
one of
that?
the-
nation's
one of the-
economic progress.
one of the markers.
I don't know it's whether it relates to like mental well-being or not, but yeah, it's related to GDP, it's related to employment,
because
it's related to women empowerment also.
because as Rajeshri told in the starting also, that everything which we anywhere, whatever progress we make, there is always involvement of energy, that through life energy in form of electricity.
Yes.
It's always there. So definitely when we see that consumption is more, that means there is the usage is more than, and we can say that
Yeah.
it is a marker. It's kind of a marker that, of one's development or a nation's development.
With this, the next question that automatically comes in my mind is that, as we know what is grid, what are the classifications of grid in India mainly? What are the grids being controlled, and what about the global scenario?
So the Indian grid is like the third largest in the entire world. The first is China, of course. The second is the collection of countries which is called European Union. Then comes India. So the Indian grid has developed mainly after 1990s, when it has turned into a national grid. earlier the grid was segregated into various regional grids. The regional grids meant that there were separate grids for western region, for northern, eastern and southern, which essentially meant that in terms of electrical grid, India was actually 4 different places. It was not one singular unit. So the issue with that was there were generation centers that were not getting enough load or enough industry to utilize that. There were industry centers which were not getting power because geographically it was very separated by a long distance. So the implications of it was there were hindrances in opening new industries, there were hindrances in running factories properly, there were load sheddings, issues with grid blackouts, and there was issue that every line that was there was running in overloaded conditions, which actually results in the wear and tear of the grid infrastructure. So in order to mitigate that, we started to make one single grid in the principle of what our Prime Minister says, one nation, one grid, one frequency. Today, we are proud to say that we have a consolidated Indian grid which is very stable and it's very structured. It is run by, it is monitored rather by a company called POSOCO, which manages the grid and also the amount of load that has to be dispatched.
It does the planning work.
Yeah, the forecasting, whatever is going to happen. So the Indian grid is huge. Like it's very difficult to imagine what the Indian grid constitutes of. Like the energy that is generated at Kanyakumari can be consumed at the very next second at some remote village in Leh or Ladakh. So it's quite fascinating.
Yeah, one fun fact: if you think it's not very intuitive, or maybe people may not think about it, but whenever you plug your even phone, even if you switch on a fan or anything that we are plugging it in, that means you are technically connected to whole India. Means if you trace it out, then you will be able to if you are able to trace it out through wire and as they are connected, you can reach to every part of India where the grid is going. Because now our grid is all over connected throughout, except in 2012 that we had a blackout. In 2012 we had a major grid disturbance where the whole northern part was isolated, and then the only southern grid was, since it was not connected to the northern grid. But now we have achieved that, as Rajeshri mentioned, that one grid and one frequency. So now the grid is become even bigger. So the stability, the inertia has become, it has more inertia. So the stability, it's not easy to disturb the grid now anymore, or it will be able to move back to its original state without any much fluctuations or oscillations. That we can say that. And so thing about electricity is also one thing that everything happens so quickly that once it starts to happen, you have to just wait and
in a blink of eye.
Yeah, and then we have to. Only thing is that we can recover it after. We cannot save it. So that's one thing that happens in milliseconds.
Yes.
So that's one fun fact about electricity.
One more thing, like as we could understand, like this one nation, one grid and one frequency concept lies on like there is blood vessels in our body supplying nutrients and oxygen to every body part simultaneously. Like this, the Indian grid supplying to each and every parts of India's, mostly, and maybe there are international grid also. So the thing that I would like to ask you, why this one frequency? What is the significance of we are generating at one frequency and transmitting at one frequency? Any particular advantages or disadvantages based on the electrical scenario?
Yeah, as we know, technically AC, when we talk about AC, that we have some frequency that we say that here in India it is 50 hertz, and outside in America we have 60 hertz. So that's one parameter that comes along with AC. So we have synchronous motors and generators. So they all will run at the synchronous speed. As I'm getting more technical, but they will run either on synchronous speed or they won't run.
Yeah.
So to sync every when we have to sync we have to sync means we have to achieve the interconnectivity. Then it's very necessary that every region will have to run at 50 hertz, and if there is some differences, then the system will not synchronize and it will fail. It will fail. So that's one frequency, that when we are achieving one grid, then we have to have this one frequency.
That's for the parallel operations of
that is technical.
Suppose the load and the generation, if they are not synced at the same frequency, then you cannot dispatch the power from from the generator to load. Suppose you are trying to catch a train, but if you are not running at the speed of the train, then you will miss the train. If you are running at the speed of the train, but you don't have the door alongside you, then you cannot get in. So there are multiple things like the voltage, the frequency, the phase,
to connect them all to the infinite bus that we require.
That is the grid. Yes.
So we have learned about some grids. Now there is a name called smart grid. Now it is coming up mostly. So could you explain? I would start with Pridansh, like what is smart grid and how does it imply in our lives also?
Smart grid. When we talk about something smart, that we can say smart means we are having all the
Human things, they are very smart.
Yes.
I'm
we are
not having
becoming
like-
we are having everything. That means smartness. We are achieving smartness is we are able to do multiple things. You can say multiple things
Yeah.
at a time. Multitasking also, that can be also a smart way. So when we talk about smart grid, nowadays in a conventional way, we know that we are only consumers of the electricity. That the electricity is produced somewhere, and we as we told earlier,
We draw
talked about
electricity
draw
and-
electricity.
The private households.
Yeah. But
Domestic
what if we are able to produce electricity ourselves also? We are all are producers, consumers. Apart from being consumers, we are producers also. And whenever required, we can also generate electricity and maybe give it to the grid. So that's how what smart grid concepts came in. That it's not just about, we are not dependent upon just on the electricity that we produce some thousands or 10,000, 2 to 3,000 megawatts away, and we are consuming here. That this smart grid will help the grid to be
more self-reliant.
Self-reliant, yeah.
Atmanirbhar Bharat जैसे
yes,
practice को बोलते हैं.
definitely. And then we have very other components also, like smart meters. When we talk about smart meters, that can be also part of smart grid. When we talk about, we are installing smart meters right now. Then we have EV vehicles also, where we talk about that. We know that electricity, EV requires charging, but whenever required in an emergency situation, electricity from EV can also be used in the grid. So that is also one kind of smartness that we are adding. So there are many such things. So this is how a grid becomes self-reliant, more reliable. I think we can say we are not just dependent upon a particular source. If it fails, what happens? Although we are so much
Localized generation and also transmission if possible. And yeah.
Rajeshri may add something.
Smart means thinking something that can think about itself and is self-reliant, right? So when a domestic consumer, he buys some electronic solar panels and installs it in his rooftop, he is also producing electricity in a very micro level. But when it is multiplied across thousands and crores of households, then that becomes a significant amount of electricity, all of which that domestic consumer may not use. He may have some surplus electricity. So with this smart city or smart grid concept, what we can do is we can connect these domestic consumers into the grid so that they are able to supply this surplus power into the grid, which means now the generation is not isolated in some centers of generation. Now they are distributed all along the grid. It improves the inertia of the grid, it improves the part from where the power is coming from, it increases reliability, right? So when we talk about, there are many smart cities in India. Agartala is one of them. So these cities are essentially becoming self-reliant. They are not depending upon, because suppose the northeastern area that was earlier much reliant upon the power from the rest of the India.
Due to the geographical locations, maybe the locations are topography of the land is such that they don't have access to such natural
it's
resources.
difficult to build infrastructure there. Heavy infrastructure we cannot like transport. It's very difficult.
And then also when talk about geographical difficulties, then that becomes even more costlier. And whenever we have very scattered population, so to cater the
needs of
last
the
mile
area.
for last mile connectivity, like places like Arunachal Pradesh or many hilly areas, where very small
terrain
pockets
is,
are having the population, and but to carry the electricity there, we have to build the infrastructure. Whole of the
that was the hurdle, but we have done it to quite a level. I think the utopian vision of a smart grid is a grid that does not require monitoring, does not require decision making. It is completely autonomous. So when you attach a smart meter, what you're essentially doing is it is collecting data and sending this data live to
on a real-time basis.
Some central data center, right, Vedansh?
That we may come to smart meter.
Yeah, that's what it's doing. Now, if we are able to harness this data, analyze it, and understand what the data is saying to us, and then we employ a system that requires minimal supervision, then we can say that the grid has become smart grid. That is the ultimate goal. We are working towards that. Things like Internet of Things, IoT devices we have attached in our daily life. Also, we have so many IoT devices right nowadays. So all of it together constitutes smart grid. Smart grid requires smart people. Dumb people cannot be part of smart grid.
With this, would I also like to know what are smart meters that we have already discussed some of it from you. Would like to know what are smart meters and how these are incorporated in the today's energy sector.
Smart meters now, you all might be knowing or may not be knowing that the government of India is carrying out a scheme of RDSS, Revamped Distribution Sector Scheme, where the government is central government is providing assistance to the state government to participate in this program and to improve their infrastructure. There are two parts: to reduce the loss reduction, to reduce the losses that is in the network. I think distribution is the area where there is a lot of losses.
Yes.
More the
Theft, power theft is there.
and more. I think most of the discoms are
Running in losses. Yeah.
They're running in losses and they cannot do anything, and they are just carrying out. They cannot do anything because we cannot just close a company. But that also forces government to pump in more money and to recover that losses, which otherwise would have been used for the welfare of other
infrastructure and other buildings.
So that is also so that means this is also not good. So the government is helping these to improve the the state of the electricity or the infrastructure, that is transformers and conductors and all, and to improve the network as a whole. And another part is the smart meter part, where the meters that we are now having, the digital meters that we are having, we are just adding one more we are adding one more feature to the meter. That means it collects the data that is being recorded by conventional meters, but that data doesn't go anywhere. But at real time, that data is going to be transmitted to the utilities, and they can able to use that data. So in real time, you can say. So what happens is, for now, for the time being, the data that the plan is being that was envisaged was to reduce the commercial losses, since that people not paying the bills. And such. And when we switch it on to prepaid mode, then it becomes easy to collect the bills from the consumers, and helps in reducing the commercial losses. And because the smart meters and another feature that smart meter has an automatic connect and disconnect switch. That means you can connect and disconnect the switch from the remote also. You do not go and to disconnect someone's. Just like phone, when you are out of balance, then
if you have top up properly, then it will run. Otherwise, your electricity connection may get cut.
So one of the aspect is covered in that. But what we are just thinking is a very low hanging fruit that we are talking about. Otherwise, smart meter has a very other long term.
The main vision is that to get the data from the maybe
primary.
renewable.
I mean say primarily, because so 40% losses maybe are discom 40%. So how can an organization run on like that? So to recover the commercial losses, smart meters are introduced. That is a very low hanging fruit, I'd say, because but its usage is a lot, because as we know, data is power today.
Yes.
So that smart meters that we are using can help data that can help consumers also and discoms also. As a discom, when we say that we plan to buy electricity, as we know that electricity cannot be stored.
Yes.
So it has to be consumed as it is produced, and if it is being produced, it has to be consumed. So you have to, and it is something you can say, how can we predict that how much electricity can be produced? So you have to be very clear about that, and how precise you predict it. Then only you can ask the generating companies to produce it. So it's you have to maintain a balance, and it's not an easy thing when you think about it. So the data that can be used, that will be with the discoms, that will help them to plan their
future course of action, whatever.
And also unscheduled withdrawal that happens, that destabilizes the grid, that can also be controlled. So that is one of the aspect. Another, if I talk about consumers, on what consumer will get out of it, because consumer will say, I have to pay bill, otherwise I was paying the bill and now also I'm paying the bill. What's in there for me? So there are many things that can be used the electricity that we
Like one question
smart
I would like to ask, like if a person is generating solar power from a rooftop maybe
Yeah.
installation, so if he generates a surplus as mentioned by Rajastri, so this surplus, whatever the amount of electricity that is this recorded by the smart meter and sent to the utilities for like what he can like charge accordingly for the tariff he has generated the surplus and giving to the grid. Is this
yeah, smart meter can be
It's bidirectional.
bidirectional. That can be that word is always there. Data is always there. That can be stored and that can be that
will
we
you
can
able to
have.
sell his electricity and
Yeah,
get
He'll be
benefit?
able to sell in the sense that the government will not give him money. His tariff will be reduced in the next bill. So it
Okay.
gets recorded. He gets the
Adjust.
benefits in this way.
Okay.
So the issue is that although the distributed grid generation from individual domestic consumers is possible on paper, but it has not yet been implemented, and the
Maybe research is going on somewhere.
nooks and crannies and the how to implement it in practical sense that has to be carried out, because there are various issues related to it, like protection related issues, tracking issues. So it is possible, and we are working towards that. Our grid is working towards that. So it will be reality very soon.
Okay. Thank you. So, with this, we would also like to know what are the advancements going on in renewable energy sources in power sector. I would start from you, Vedansh. Like, what are the schemes being generated and how it's impacting our present energy scenario, renewable resources?
As we know that most recent is that is going on, that everyone, the people also now is know that PM Surya Ghar, I think Yojana is there, where rooftop solar is being installed in every household and all the government offices. And also nowadays we have so much potential. We say about we talk about solar, where you can say the barren lands are so much barren land is there. It's like Kutch, near Kutch and desert area. So there are so many solar parks are coming up. So I think solar is the hot topic for nowadays in India, we can say. And otherwise there are so many other sources of renewable sources like tidal, wind. That is, I think, more common in
In the
In the developed nations, Europe, yeah,
Europe nations,
offshore wind is very.
offshore winds are there.
Here I would like to say something. It's important for the domestic consumers to know. If you are installing a solar panel in your rooftop, the government will bear a portion of that cost, so that you don't have to. They are incentivizing you to do that. You will get free electricity from that. You don't have to take electricity from grid. Your electricity bill will come down, and the infrastructure partially the cost will be borne by the government. The exact percentage I forgot.
Even the solar panels are nowadays subsidized by
Yes, government is
for the
subsidized.
manufacturers also and also the consumers. They want to
In terms of industrial generation, renewable generation, as Vedant said, Adani is coming up with the largest solar renewable energy plant in the entire world in Khavda, Rajasthan.
I think Gujarat.
In Khavda, Gujarat. Yeah. So India is working vehemently towards it. I think we are the only major nation, one of the largest nations that are actually going towards the promise of keeping our Paris 2030 goals. Also, we are the automobile companies are coming up with various EV models nowadays. Hybrid models are there. So the advantage of EVs is that, of course, it does not use any fossil fuel.
cleaner.
Cleaner,
Yes.
yeah. Petrol, which was like the hero for so many decades. Based on petrol, so many nations have gone rich, right? Now petrol is the villain, and electricity is the new hero, right? So if you want to have an EV, then suppose an incident happened in Texas, US, I think, where the electrical grid was thrown off by I think it was a snowstorm or something. So the people who owned a Tesla, they took their electricity, the household electricity. They could use the battery of the Tesla vehicle, and they could light up their entire home. So there are advantages of
Contingency can convert contingency plans.
yeah, the advantages of using EVs also.
One more. I think when we talk about EVs and batteries, when we talk about
Yes.
is on again a discussion keeping when we have discarded fossil fuels. But what about batteries?
Yes, energy
How-
storage has been a
how much emission is
yeah.
how much emission is there when we build a battery? Is it not being counted? Okay, now at that present time, at that moment, maybe the emissions are not there.
Yeah.
But during the production and also after its life is completed.
Yeah.
But then again, as and when technology progresses, chemistry advances even
Yeah,
more,
in fact,
then I think these problems are going to be solved gradual.
When we talk about green hydrogen, it does mean that the hydrogen has been produced from green or renewable sources. There are various kinds of hydrogen. It's either green hydrogen or brown hydrogen or black hydrogen. Only if it's green hydrogen, it means that it is completely taken out from renewable sources of energy. There is no non-renewable sources, so there is no emissions involved.
Carbon footprint and these all things.
Yeah, it's very fascinating because although in terms of the net emissions, India is one of the major emitters, but if you count the per capita usage, consumption or per capita emission, then India comes at a very lower position compared to countries like US or other developed countries because their emission is much higher at a much lower population base level. Even China emits much more harmful gases in the atmosphere compared to India, but India is working towards it. I would also like to mention the offshore wind energy, which is very fascinating. You must have seen, all of you must have
around
seen
the coastal lines of Gujarat. There is around.
Yeah, that is, all of it is onshore, which means it sits on land. When it's on land, then you have to go and get some land, and the wind speed will be disrupted due to various forests or trees or mountains. When it's offshore, means it is on the ocean. It's literally a windmill, wind farm on the ocean. It's not been done in India yet, but there are some wind farms in European countries. So European countries are pushing the hardest for renewable source of energy since Donald Trump has come. So America has pulled out of Paris Climate Accord again, so that leaves India as the only major country that is pushing for it. So India is also Prime Minister Modi encapsulated the term International Solar Alliance. Under it, there are countries which have come together and pledged that they will generate a part of their energy from solar.
As we know, AI, artificial intelligence, has touched every aspect of our life. Like there is from jobs to using some internet researches to everything, making the food, everything. There is AI, the role of AI. So what is the role of AI in our energy sector?
Energy sector, if we talk about, and I'm going to take help of smart meters again. See, smart meters, the data that we are collecting through smart meters, through the use of AI and machine learning, there have been efforts being made to use that data to optimize the grid, or what the decisions that can be taken from the data, the analysis that can be done, which was not otherwise so easy to be done with the humongous amount of data that we are receiving through all the domestic households. So the planning and all, and if we say that, for example, if we talk about grid and we talk about distribution grid, we find so much mismanagement of the assets or infrastructures that we find at a place. At the same place, transformer is overloaded, and up to few steps, and after say 100 to 200 meters, there's another transformer that is not being utilized even 20%. But then what is being done to combat that overload? People are adding another transformer instead of doing something that can be that can help doing that, making that underloaded transformer to take care of the load.
Even in load analysis, AI is used.
So I'm saying that we don't need a transformer there. We don't need extra, a transformer, extra resources unnecessary. We can use that same already present resources to do it. And to do so, you can use that data. We can using AI and machine learning. We can take decisions, or we can come out. That the decision that are being made in board to purchase an asset. Instead of that, we can just run that. We can use the data and using the artificial intelligence to give us a solution, a better solution without investing anything. How can we achieve what we already have? So one scenario, that an example, one thing, it's just one of the 1,000 things that can be that an AI can do.
Any more AI aspects you want to cover, like that we use in even in our day-to-day lives, and maybe the common people don't know they are built and run by AI?
Well, data processing and AI always requires, as Vedant said, lots of data. When you have sufficient data, it's very essential and important to understand that you can formulate plans, procedures, maintenance schedules, everything, forecast for every single equipment level. We do not have to do one size fits all. Like till now, there was a blanket policy that suppose we have to do a testing of an equipment on a yearly basis, but every equipment is different. The amount of load that it is facing is different. The amount of operations it is undergoing is different. So with AI, it is possible that every single equipment gets its own plan, its own running life, its own inventory, maybe its own maintenance cycle. With AI, we can we can forecast the load centers that are going to come across India, seeing the trends that will help us predict where we can construct a transmission line or a substation in future, where we are going to see the load centers where it will require the load to be evacuated. With AI, we can, as Vedant said, suppose I have my AI data of 1000 consumers. From that, I will find out who are the top 10% consumers. I will incentivize them, give them discounts, or we can give the incentives to the bottom people who are not using it that much. So we can find out lots of analytics from the data, that how our grid is performing, what our consumers want on a very individual level. That is the beauty of AI. Micro level, on a per household domestic basis also we can do. Like what Vedant wants may be different from what I want. Now it is not possible because the data is not possible to be processed in such a minute manner. But with AI, it can predict that. It can even predict wonderfully that which household has got married recently because electricity usage would have increased, which household has got a kid recently because the lights would be on for a shorter duration of time.
Loads and also
Yeah.
On a lighter note, I can say that privacy is being breached now.
Electricity, it's true. Electricity is vital for understanding so many things. Like for a good example would be mining of a Bitcoin, which is a cryptocurrency, requires lots of electricity. So in the areas where Bitcoin cryptocurrencies are banned, police actually finds out which household is using abnormally large electricity to know that they are minting Bitcoin. So electricity is the most honest tracer, because you cannot make the current impure. It's always in the purest form, right?
And you can defy the laws and like use it like
you cannot do it. There will always be a trace,
and there are protocols to maintain to get that much amount of peak power maybe solved, because the infrastructure is like this.
Yes.
Because maybe as simple as you can understand the conductor size, na?
Yeah. Once we reach that level of monitoring, like Vedant says, and like they are working towards it, installing smart energy meters. How many smart energy meters?
I think 25 crores.
25 crores. So it will go to
Such a large
every single household in the meantime. So with that, it will be possible to trace everything. It will be possible to forecast what is the future going to look like, and it will ultimately make the transition of India towards the developed nations much smoother in terms of electricity.
Even in fault analysis, has AI some? There are any breakthrough researchers in this field in doing the fault analysis, or maybe the forecasting of what could be the load in certain areas?
Yeah.
Like
Suppose a line, if nowadays what happens is we can only understand the line has tripped after there is some fault, right? There are relays, protection relays, which trips the line once there is a fault. But with AI, you can see the past trends of when the line has tripped, what was the weather, how is the geographical location, how remote is the place, everything you can. If you have cameras on your transmission towers, you can find out if whether there is a tree in front of it. That is more of an example of an IoT, but it's all combined together. That monitoring may not be done by a human. An AI can do it.
Manual labor would decrease.
Manual labor has decreased, I would like to say. In many places there are not even shift operators right now. It is all being looked into centrally or automated at most of the places.
And the pace has picked up, which otherwise would have been, because we have to maintain because we're managing the grid, we need more people, and the pace should be also to the mark.
Time response of the system is picked up, and reliability of the system is increased.
Then we have that much of data, then we have to manage the data, we have to analyze the data. That is possible with AI. Today, if we say AI means we just feel that AI means
just
it
like
can
God.
do anything.
Just like God, omnipresent.
Yes.
It can make anyone sing also.
Yeah.
And you cannot deny that if that person is not singing. So it has gone a long way.
Yeah.
So I don't think so that AI is something to say what AI cannot do.
It's like you have the power of supercomputers on your phone, right? If you pay like 2,000 rupees a month, you can have a supercomputer in your phone that can I think that can do all of your paperwork, including your taxes. So at a very personal level also, AI is revolutionizing the world. But again, AI requires data is stored in servers, and that requires constant non-stop electricity.
uninterrupted, and which are served and done by our efficient engineers like this.
I think a circle is complete.
Yes.
Yes. With this, we'd finally like to ask, as you all are GATE rankers, what are the preparation tips and strategies you want to give to the aspiring candidates?
First of all, I would like to say a few words about why do you give GATE, because over time private companies have come, private jobs have come that are much more lucrative than maybe what a government job or PSU job would look like. But if you give GATE, then you have the potential of entering some of the largest industries, at least in power sector. You have the opportunity of working with the best minds. You have the opportunity of working in the most cutting edge technology that is available, like HVDC is a cutting edge technology. You can work in the latest renewable projects that are coming up. You have the opportunity of earning a significant amount of money at a very young age if you are attempting for GATE and cracking it. Nowadays you can give GATE from third year. So third year and fourth year you can do it. So even if you do it in the fourth year and you come in the industry at an age of 23, 24, you know what happens when you are young, your mistakes are pardoned easily because it's like chota bacha hai, ye to abhi aaya hai. The same mistake if you commit after coming to the industry at the age of 31, 32, then people would be a little bit hard on you, more hard on you. Also, when your career gets a longer runway from 23, 24 of age to 31, 32, I'm 31 or 32 right now, but I have had an experience of like 8 years. All of us have had an experience of like 8-9 years right now. So that is very valuable because the most learning happens in that time because you are not burdened by your family, your obligations, your responsibilities. The job is everything that you have. And there are some issues that people point out, like living in a remote area or not getting all the facilities that other people might get. So there are both upsides, downsides to it. You get a fresh environment, you get fresher food, you get to save a lot of money. So there are...
On a lighter note, I would like to add from the yogic perspective, your brain is much more sharper when you're at a young age. So this could be an also advantage to learn things quickly.
Yeah.
Right.
And the capability of learning reduces.
It's a fact. Maybe.
Yeah, it's true. It's
but
true.
there are some people who have trained their brain like this to even at a later age also they have
but it's harder.
Capacity.
It's much more difficult. At a young age, it's very... because you have come from an academic background into the industry, right? So your brain is prepared to take in all the more data. Once you reach a certain age, after that, there are, as I said, other social issues that come up. You start...
memory is being used up by other things also.
Yeah,
and your
processing power.
Neurons don't fire that much fast. Your neurons in the brain do not fire that much fast, which require that more like fast operations.
Yeah.
Because you have given the exams and all, and you are always alert.
Yes, you are very alert at that time, and you don't realize it, but you have done the single most best thing in your life. I have cracked GATE. After that, I did not have to worry about layoffs. I don't have to worry about my salary increasing, decreasing. I did not have to worry about AI taking my job. No worries. When you are worried about...
you are a chill guy, so you won't worry about either.
Most people don't worry about that in our industry because when you are worried, you cannot learn new things. You cannot think about innovation because your personal security is at stake, right? So I see there are many friends of mine who are working in good industry, but they are having to think about even 5 years in the future because they don't know what the industry is going to like to be. So when you are at this place, it's not like you don't work, but you work without the worries clouding your brain. So that's why you should give GATE. How you should give GATE, maybe Vedant should.
With this will come like what are the preparation steps that you've taken for your personal.
He's a better percentage. He's a
We
better rank.
both of are great, so there is no composition like this. I would like to ask you
Anyways,
what.
When we prepare for GATE, if you say about preparation for giving
Maybe any job. I want to like
any job. If
I
you're
don't
talking
ask
about,
you like press about GATE only. Any electrical aspirants looking for a job, looking for any competitive exam or interview. What is the funda that you think should be they should have like that mindset or?
So there are two parts. First is you're giving a competitive exam if you are going to enter any public sector or whatever, and then there's an interview. So I think for if you talk about public sectors, the main thing is the exam. So when we are talking about giving exam, so the first thing that we have to do is we have to think it is an exam, and we need to know what exactly we have to do to crack this exam. The second thing is that we are not here to do PhD on any subject. People tend to take it on an ego that if I'm an electrical engineer, I should know power system as a whole, electrical machine as a whole, and that takes you down because like if you talk about maths, I think everyone can do differentiation finds you find very easy. Integration is a tough one because you have to bring it in that form first, and then integration is the last step that we do. And otherwise everything we have to know everything from trigonometry, from whatever we what all not. And last thing, just we have applied formula because it becomes that form. So again, I'm just saying that when we are given an examination, we need to know that what we need to learn and what we need to focus. What is the scoring areas? We have to the focus is to get more marks.
Yeah.
We can get 2 marks from a question that we do in a control system, and also power system.
Yes.
But that power system you may require more effort.
Yeah.
But what that gives you just 2 marks. But if you take it on ego, then you might lose both. So the first
smart strategy.
Yeah, smart strategy. That is what I'm talking about. You first need to know what you don't have to learn
what are the
everything.
scoring areas and what are the strength of the person giving the exam.
Person giving the.
There are like 65 questions, right? Out of 65 questions, 45 questions can be attempted by out of like. In our time, it has been a decade since I've given GATE. There were like 1.5 lakh candidates who used to appear for electrical GATE. So that 45 questions can be solved by 20,000 people at least. The 20 questions, those are what we used to call the higher order thinking questions in class 10 and class 12.
Benchmarker questions, right?
The toppers, the would-be toppers, they focus on those 20 questions, not realizing that even the 45 questions need to be solved. They are easy, but they need to be solved. If you are very much overconfident or don't give it enough practice, like Vedang said, mathematics, general aptitude, they carry the same marks. Once you tell your marks, it does not matter if it comes from a circuit theory. Yeah, nobody is asking. So it's essential that, as you said, study in a very efficient and optimized fashion. The important subjects of electrical engineering, like power system, control system, machines, electronic systems is very important. Power electronics, Even in interviews, as Molly asked, in the interviews you will be asked, you will not be asked about your bookish knowledge because that they have already checked in your GATE score or in your written exams. They will ask about your outlook, your vision, how much you know outside of your textbook. They will check how you are behaving in front of them. They will check your internship is very important, whether you have done internship in the electrical industry or not. So your final year project will be important. So
also the vocational trainings that have gone, and also the practical aspects of electrical engineering, as simple as like how the fan works, how the light works.
One thing more I would like to say, that we all learned everything we learned, but there are few things that need to be answered very easily. That we as an electrical engineer we should be able to answer very. If we need to explain to a layman, if he is able to understand, that means you have a very good understanding. And if he doesn't, then you don't have understanding. So when we talk about electrical engineering, we have very few parameters: voltage, current, resistors, capacitance, and inductor. That's all electrical engineering. But we learned everything kind of thing: power system, how machine, what is stator and rotor and all. And when we are asked about how to explain voltage, how to explain current, many people are not able to get to those.
Express themselves, maybe that they might be knowing, but they don't express.
And many times interviewer asks these questions to you because interviewer doesn't know what is a stator, what is a lap winding, what is a wave winding. He may not be able to know. But he will ask very simple question. For example, the neutral that comes to your house, where it starts, and sometimes you don't know. You are thinking, भाई कहाँ से आ रहा है सर, मैंने कभी सोचा ही नहीं है सर. So keep it very simple. As an electrical engineer, you should be focusing at least if a layman asks us a particular question, I'm able to tell him in a way that he is able to understand. And if it is need to be explained in more technical way, I can do that also. So these things should be focused. Also,
basic conceptual questions. Basic concept.
It also depends upon what you are interviewing for. Like in my experience, my BARC interview or DRDO interview is far more important than any interview that has a lesser weightage on the interview itself compared to those institutions that place more emphasis on the interview. Like if you are going for an interview in BARC, they will ask you questions for 45 minutes to 1 hour and still not select you. They did not select me.
Thank you to both our expert speakers for giving us such insightful conversations and helping our listeners be industry ready and knowing the importance of electricity. From these two guys, I assure you will be getting more such insightful conversations from our upcoming podcast. And don't miss to like, share and comment and subscribe our channel. Hari Om Sakhi.